So in this segment, we're going to be discussing audience members, kind of potential voters not feeling enthused by politics and feeling politically homeless.
Tax seems to keep going up, and all of our services are beyond capacity and on their knees. The maths isn't adding up.
So where does that leave you as a voter? What, you can't see any solutions?
No one's telling me anything that I'm convinced by.
Lee, Roland.
Well, the reason politicians are going to be straight with you. There's £65 billion going into local government. There's millions and there's millions of things happening.
And the roads are crumbling.
And there's millions.
And people are stuck on.
But the question, Ellie,
interrupting a potential voter like that is incredibly silly. I'll be honest.
Care waiting list.
Where do you get the additional money from?
He's not even addressing her. He's addressing someone else on the panel. Like what? You're not even addressing the person who asked you the question?
I can answer that. I can answer that. There are political choices.
Because that is why.
There are political choices that you have made where you have not collected tax.
Christian really should have stepped in there.
Point. The gentleman there says the Conservatives have attacked the public services over the last 14 years. It's a strange attack when we've put hundreds of billions of additional pounds.
Where's the money going, though? If it's going to donors, if it's going to the private sector, if it's going to Dido Harding, then you've just wasted taxpayers' money. That's all you've done. And that's the reason why it's crumbling. You cannot simultaneously argue you've put so much money in, but also have to acknowledge that things like waiting lists have gone up dramatically. That means you're not allocating the money properly. That's what that means. If you're going to make the argument of we are funding it properly when we know they're not. The roads are in such a state now. It looks like they get hit by comets every other day.
In per year.
So
everyone's saying they're not working.
Daisy
here's the way that we can pay for some public services. We have a windfall tax on the big oil and gas companies. The Liberal Democrats were the first party to call for that. We could close the loopholes and raise a lot more money to pay for our public services. The Conservatives gave a £3 billion tax cuts to the big banks, which were already raising more money than they've ever raised before. We could reverse that tax cut for the big banks and spend that £3 billion on public services or health, education, anything else. We've got these really big water companies now that have been allowed to pump sewage into our rivers. They've been raising millions in pounds as well. There are big companies that are...
With the water one, I think she's that's a bit of a throwaway one in this context. But point being is, she's right there. About this getting rid of this bank tax. I didn't know about that, so that's good. I think the Lib Dems were the first ones to come out with the windfall tax, so that's good that she's going to put that on the record as well. But I think you got to talk about how. To be fair, it's a short clip, but I think you got to link it back to addressing the person's concern, which was that we're paying a lot of money in tax. Where is it going? Where is it going? That's the question. So it's a great question from this audience member here. A good response from the Lib Dem, Daisy Cooper. I think she wanted to jump on that question, to be fair. She did a good job of it. Very, very good aggressive response there. She jumped in, made sure that she was going to get her point heard. You've got to respect that. This is another clip from a different audience, from a different channel.
About how, I guess, politics can be more accessible. Because you were saying, I guess, the same thing as Stephen, saying that, look, you turn on the TV and it's just a whole load of people arguing.
Yeah, I think for me, with what I do, trying to spread positivity, and I think that well-being and mental health is affected no matter whether you're in politics, life, work, out of work, whatever it is. And I think that we live in an era where nothing's changed. You've got people at 20, you've got people, please and no discrimination here, 30, 40, 50, who actually, they're in an era where people are in this room now thinking about not voting. And a lot of the time, we're just touching what Mel said there, is if you actually put the information in a format that people will digest, which is modern, which is social media, which is in reels, it's interactive, it shows you exactly what it is.
60 seconds or less.
That's your first carrot to get people engaged in politics. Then you can get to the next level where they'll want to know more. Then they will read, they will listen. But if you don't hook people into it, people will just let it pass them by. And
this is what I think is good. The point he's raising. We are more and more getting into more of a soundbite era. Really short snippets. That's why TikTok's doing so well with people, because it's very short, 60 seconds, to find out what's going on with a certain subject. It's kind of crazy. So I think he's right there. I think people do overcomplicate it. You do get people arguing, and I think that's what I'd want to see more from the major parties. Just 60-second policy, how it's going to impact it, how it'll be funded, whatever. That would be a good idea for me. So I think he's right there. But this lady here, I think, brings up a much stronger point, which is the fact that we're paying more in tax and we're not getting better service, the argument of we need to be honest with people, we are putting this money in, but then if you are putting the money in, I would argue you're misallocating it if it's enough. That's the point where I would counter there. But I think Daisy Cooper did a good enough job. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.